Hi, this is my first attempt at doing any kind of tutorial, so bear with me. I wanted to try a tutorial about how to set up a scene, a very basic scene, in RTS Engine version 2. First, I wanted to say thank you so much to the developer of RTS Engine, Osama, and if you join the Discord, you'll see that there's a pretty big community around this, and special thanks to Charlie for helping every step of the way. First, I'm going to go into the RTS Engine folder, go down to Scenes, Demo Map. I'm going to duplicate that with Control D. I'm going to bring that new map into my own folder. Go into that folder, open up a new map, and you'll get the demo scene that comes with RTS Engine. So to get started, you have a lot of map information here. You have a lot of objects. What I like to do is start by going under Factions and just start getting rid of the existing elements. I'm going to go under Terrain, and I'm going to click the walkable areas and the border, and I'm going to disable those, as well as the elements in environment. And I'm going to go to Resources and do the same. Now, if you tried to run this, it would give you all sorts of errors. If you go into Game Manager, you have down here the faction slots. Right now it's set up with 3. I'm going to start with 1 for now. Make sure it's the host, make sure it's a local player. You can set the color to something different. I'm going to go blue. Make sure all the alpha values are set correctly. I'm going to set this to Team Us. Set it to Faction Type Us. You can develop your own faction types. It's very simple using RTS Engine. The initial camera look-at position. So this is where we have to draw in some assets, bring in some assets. So I'm going to go to my Units, Resources, Prefabs folder, and I'm going to drag this construction vehicle under Factions. I'm going to go back to Game Manager and assign this to the default faction entities array. So I'm going to just stick to 1 for now. Actually, I'm going to go in and get a second one. So I'm going to get my Capitol building, bring it in under Factions, go back to Faction Manager, drag in the Capitol building, and I'm going to set the initial camera look-at position to that Capitol building so that when it starts, it'll be looking right at that. One thing that's probably going to be common is I'm going to set the initial health of that Capitol building that I'm starting with to its max health while it's in the scene. Otherwise, it will start without being fully constructed. That's just going to be an override. So going back to Game Manager, that is how you set up the first faction. So nothing's really going to work right at all right now because there's no terrain, there's no the search grid, which you see in yellow here, isn't set up correctly to match the terrain. So what I'm going to do is create a terrain object. I'm going to set the size to something smaller. I'm just going to go 300 by 300. And you'll see that terrain object there. So now that you have the terrain object, you have to add a material. And you'll see it's way off here. So I'm going to just move it to the center. Oh, did not set the size correctly, so 300 by 300. So I have my terrain object, and I have values that work for me, so I'm just going to paste those in, but you're going to find your own depending on the size and orientation of your map. Make sure the layer is set to ground terrain. Make sure my faction entities are placed at a reasonable spot. I'm going to hit play, see what happens. Alright, so we start the game, we have our Capitol building, and we have our construction vehicle. Well, my construction vehicle is not moving, so we're going to fix that. So to fix that, we're going to go to Game Manager, drop that down, go to Services, Search, and you'll have this search grid. So we're going to go to Game Manager, Services, go down to Search, and I have, again, values that work for me, but these are going to be dependent on your map size. So I'm going to paste mine in. And the search grid covers the terrain. You also want to select your terrain, the walkable area. Go to Navigation, go to Bake, just hit Bake, and then it becomes navigable. So let's hit play again, see what happens. All right, we have our Capitol building, we have our construction vehicle, and now the construction vehicle moves around and can find its way around. And what you'll see here is our mini-map, and this is great. You can move around. It's pretty awesome. And this is a little bit complicated, but what I'm going to do is, you'll notice I can't drag my camera up into the far corners. I can't quite get there. So we're going to work on that next. Let's go to Game Manager, down to Cameras. Make sure you have the Inspector tab open. So this is where you control how you interact with the camera, and I have certain preferences that I like to use. So going down this way, the speeds are fine. I like to invert the mouse wheel, so the scrolling scroll wheel works in the opposite way. So I'm going to do that down here, mouse wheel zoom. I'm going to invert. I also like to be able to go zoom down further and then zoom back further to get, you know, a overhead view. So I'm going to go set the minimum height to 2 and the maximum height to 75. I also like to be able to zoom all the way around and maintain that perspective. So if you go to rotation limit, you can just unclick enabled. So there's no limit as to how you can go around. I'm going to set the key commands to Y and R. And to make it so that the camera rotation doesn't reset when you move, I uncheck fixed pan rotation. And to make it so that I have a more clickable area, the way I found to do it is to set the pan limit to these numbers. Negative 360, negative 360, positive 360, positive 360. I think this is what I did. Let's test it out and see. So now I can get closer, but it's not quite there. So I'm going to go to cameras. Down here, click on Mini Map Cam. Expand that out. I'm going to change the size to 300. And I'm going to change the Minimap Cam UI size to 300. I'm going to hit play and see if this fixes that. It enables me to get down to these corners pretty easily. So it's one way to do it. There may be a better way that I just don't know, but that is how I've come accustomed to doing things. So this is how I set up a basic map. I think I'm going to create a general template to work off of once I've changed the UI components and done my own customization. But this should help get you up and started, or up and running. And I guess I'll go over how to just add another faction, because these are no fun with only one team. So I'm going to go back to Game Manager, Faction Slots, change the number to 2. It's going to import the data from the first one. I'm going to use, it's a little tricky and it's going to result in an error, but it's okay. I'm going to do this for testing purposes. I'm going to make the other team them. So we got us versus them. And the initial camera look at position, I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to leave that it's set to a local player, and that's so that I can use the other faction's elements and test them out. That's the thing that's going to result in an error. So if you want to get rid of that error, you deselect that. I'm going to get rid of default faction entities because those are the same as the first teams. And I'm going to go back to our scene scroll down to Factions, find my unit prefabs, and these are my opposition construction vehicles. So drag one in, I'm going to just duplicate it 3 times, go back to Game Manager, I'm going to lock the inspector, drag these entities into the default faction entities, and reposition them to be nearby. And we're going to hit play and see how things go. Right, so everything started up fine, but you do have this error, just so you know. That's what it's coming from. And my scroll wheel is working correctly. I can rotate all the way around, then move, and the rotation stays the way I set it. I'm going to build a couple buildings. Let's see, we got fast food joint. Let's do a strip club, college. These are my resource gatherers. Got the police station over there. I'm going to go find my guy, and I'm going to build a farm, add a couple builders, make a lumber yard, little ranch, and a mine. And I'm going to set up my auto shop, which makes my attack units. We didn't build the business, so I'm going to have to do that. And now you can see, you can scroll down quite a bit to see what's going on around the school, what's going on at the police station, fast food joint, strip club. Somebody's getting busy in the back, and the business. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Again, thank you so much to RTS Engine, Usama, and Charlie. I hope this helps people just getting started. And this is a very powerful tool. I would recommend this to absolutely anybody interested in creating an RTS game or a tower defense or probably many other types of games. It's a wonderful community. The Discord is great. I can't say enough good things, and thank you again.